We're going to take a look at the excellence level of making the call, which is trying to decide whether we can make a call back in the population based on our sample as to whether there's a difference between two groups or not. So the very first idea here is very obvious. If you have two box plots, Group A and Group B, and this is our sample, and there's no overlap between those boxes, then we can clearly say that back in the population, B tends to be bigger than A. Okay, it's a no-brainer. There's no big deal about that. Then we get into a situation down here where there's some overlap. So now we're starting to get the groups be a little bit more similar to each other, and we have some of the data that overlaps with each other. But if we take a look at the medians outside the box of the other, even only has to be one. So if we have one median outside the box of the other, then basically we have this 3/4 half rule apply, which basically means that 3/4 of the data of group B is bigger than half or 50% of the other group, right? So we need to understand this whole 3/4 half thing based on box plots. And so that if that applies, we tend to be able to say that based on our sample, that back in the population, B tends to be bigger than A. Now that gets us to a merit level. However, if we want to go to the excellence level, we have to talk about the difference in the medians and the overall visible spread. Now we're going to confine ourselves to a sample size of 30, but it would change a little bit if we did a sample size of 100, which we'll talk about later on. So basically the idea here is that we can make a call that there is a difference between two groups back in the population if the difference in the medians is greater than 1/3 of the overall visible spread. Now let's work through an example to see what that looks like, okay? So if we take a look at this sample here, we basically have, if we go to sort of merit level about making the call, we can see that each median is inside the box of the other. And so when that happens, when you have the medians inside the box of the other, there tends to be too much overlap. So we can't actually say that there's a difference between A and B back in the population. Based on our sample, it looks like there's a difference. You know, it looks like A might be a bit bigger, but there's just too much overlap and too much similarity between A and B. So we don't have enough evidence to say back in the population that there's a difference. But we want to confirm this. So we want to sort of take this to the next level, and we want to make sure that that's true. So if this is a sample size of about 30 people, what we would do is we would calculate the overall visible spread, which is take the lowest end of the box, which is 6, and the upper end of the other box, which is 14. The overall visible spread is 8 in this particular example. And then we look at the difference in the medians, which is 9 for that one, and 10. And so that's a difference of 1. And then we do the calculation. We take 1/3 of the overall visible spread, right? And 1/3 of 8 is 2.6667. So basically we're saying, okay, is the DMS, the difference in the medians, which is 1, greater than 1/3 of the overall visible spread, which is 2.6667. And it's not true. It's not true. So we've confirmed what we already suspected to be true, is that there is no difference. That back in the population, we can't say that one group, that A is bigger than A or than B. That's the bones of it, okay? And that's to excellence level. And let's take a look at where we might be able to make a call. So again, if we look at this situation here, we've got one median outside the box. So it looks like although there's overlap here, there doesn't seem to be so much overlap that we can't distinguish that, in fact, A is bigger than B. That one median's outside the box of the other, so there doesn't seem to be too much overlap, and that we can make a call that because we've got the 75% being bigger than the 50% of the other group, that we can say that back in the population there seems to be a difference, and that A will be bigger than B. Now we want to confirm that right? So we want to confirm that with the overall visible spread. So let me just get rid of this, and we'll take a look at the overall visible spread and the difference in the medians. So it does seem to be that the overall visible spread is the same. It's 6 and 8, or 6 and 14. So the overall visible spread seems to be 8. And the DMS, which is the difference in the medians, now that's different. The DMS here, the difference in the medians is 9, and then this one is 11. So the difference in the medians is 11 minus 9, which is 2. Now, we already know what a third of 8 is. A third of 8 is that. So we're saying is the DMS 2, is that greater than a third of 8? Have I got that right now? Let me just double check. Is that 9? That's 9. And that's, well, that's 12. Sorry, that's 12. Made a mistake here. That's 12. So that's 3. So we've got a DMS of 3, and that's 2.667. So that's a true statement. That's true. That 3 is greater than 2.667. So that confirms that we can make a call that back in the population there is a difference between A and B, and that A is bigger than B. So we can make a call in this one. And we've confirmed that with our third of the overall visible spread. So that's how it works. And that's what you're going to have to say, and you're going to have to put that in context, and you're going to have to refer back to the population.